Hello everybody, I'm back on Matt's channel because why film myself?
Yeah.
No, we're getting everything set up, ready for the podcast. Everything in the office is going well, but we're not quite built up yet. And given we've been doing random bits of repair work, we thought today what we do is spend some time working on the Spike, doing stone chip repair. The reason for that is if you leave a stone chip too long, it'll get rusty, it'll get under your paint, you'll get some bubbles. We've got a bit of that already happening on the Spike. Because it's Japanese steel, it's an import.
Yeah, they all do that.
All do that.
But also, I'm not one to do stone chip and paint repair because my cars are drift cars, so they get stone chips anyway. And then by the time I need to address it, I've crashed it and I need to paint the whole bumper anyway. So stone chip repair is not really a thing I do.
So this is a preventative measure. This car will be getting a full respray at some point. Quality will be pretty much there, not perfect because it's stone chip repair, but we'll just go through all the steps for you of what you need to do. First thing you need to do is get every little bit of iron deposit out of the paint. So I have a preference for Auto Bright Purple Rain. Other fallout removers are available. And all we're going to do is give the bonnet rather, a liberal coating across where the stone chips are, and as you can see, because it's got a flat face, they're bloody everywhere. So we'll just give it a nice coat across those.
You'll have seen this on detailing channels before. Like you can see it there, starting to go purple already, hence the name Purple Rain. There's more stone chips here, but you can see there's one there that's not rusty. There's one up here that's not quite rusty yet. So getting some paint on top of these is going to stop them going rusty.
There's one up on the roof that is going rusty.
The roof and the bonnet tends to be where the sort of worst areas. There's another one in there.
One I've missed.
And this is where having a second pair of eyes over this really helps. You'll see they're all down on the bumper as well, but this is less critical because it's plastic.
It's fiberglass.
Fiberglass in this instance, but it doesn't rust. Also, I really wish this was smell-o-vision because this stuff stinks.
Smells lovely. It's the best smell.
Yeah, so there we go.
Just do the secret repair that's going to be a bit of a bodge today, but it's important to do. There's one on the boot as well from where someone dinged it. So we'll leave the Purple Rain to dwell for a little bit so you can think about life and about getting all that iron out. But you can see here, even on the bits where we appeared to have no rust before, we have little trickles of purple starting to appear throughout. Right smack bang in the middle on there.
Yeah, the one that I just pointed out that wasn't rusty.
Is.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the indicator for how far you're going to have to go with the repair. So the tools we're going to be using for this, we're going to use a mini DA with a sanding pad on it at first for where we've got any bubbles, any lifting of the paint. And that's to smooth the surface, prep it a bit. On those areas, we'll then use primer to fill in the hole. Then we'll probably hand sand any primer that's gone around the edge of the hole down. Then we'll use some little dabbing brushes to do the paint repair. Sand that down, put some clear on it. Again, sand that back a little bit, and then we'll be into compound, polish. And once you've done this, because you've been using abrasive things on the paint, if you have waxed your car before, you're going to want to just put some spray wax on the very least, just to help seal that final layer. So we'll leave this for about 10 minutes, let it dwell, give it a wipe and a clean, and then we'll be back with you.
We're all washed down, all iron remover, but this is a good example of why you should go and look at a car if you're potentially buying it in the dry, because all of these stone chips, especially on this front corner, barely visible when it was wet, and now we've cleaned it all up. You can see it all pretty much from a mile away. So as Bam said, next job, sand it all down, get rid of all the bubbling, and then we can start to deal with this. So there's a little chip repair there that he's done in the past as well. So yeah, that's the plan. We will sand all the bubbling, so you can see just there, a little bit of bubbling, get rid of that, get rid of the rust, and then we start to cover it over again.
So what we've just done is used the mini DA with 240 grit to get all the bubbling out of the paint. That lets us know how bad the rust is. So you can see this was a small stone chip earlier on, but we've had to go quite far back and quite wide. The next thing we're going to do, just to make sure we seal all the dry metal, all the bare metal, is use Hemorite Q Rust to seal it before we start playing with primer, start building up paint layers again. So we have got bare metal under some of this, so we need to prime it. Then we'll get that dry. Then we'll move into a higher grit sandpaper, go again. And that's so that we can get all the flat spots that are starting to appear in the paint. So just here, you can see the paint is a little bit flatter. What we've done is we have used wet and dry rather than using just straight sandpaper. So use wet and dry, get the surface a little bit wet. You won't damage your paint as much as you're going through this process. By the time we're done and it's polished, we might still be able to see the spots are touched up because the paint won't match perfectly, but we'll have sealed it all and it'll be good. And what we'll show you at the end of it is on the Mercedes with newer paint, how close we can get those matches to be as well. Because I've already done that last week.
I think it's also worth pointing out, from back here where I'm stood behind the camera, you can see all of the chips all the way along the bonnet edge. And once you've touched it up, it's going to be a whole lot less visible. But the other thing with this K-Rust, Q-Rust stuff is it converts rust. So if we've missed any spot under the paint, it's going to seep under the paint because it's a liquid, and it'll convert all the rust that's under the paint as well. So definitely worth doing this.
Yeah, so one thing I do with K-Rust is I use old deodorant cans to hold it in. If you dip in and out of the tank, what will happen is you'll convert a whole load of stuff and your Q-Rust will go off. It's a good thing to have in, and as you can see, I'm just hitting every stone chip on this front lip because we've got a little bit of rust in all of it, and we'll just hit some of the spots around the edges where we know there's a bit of rust, just to catch everything. That'll stop it coming back. This car lives outside all year round. It's a bit of a beater daily. It's my parts cutter. I use it when I'm transporting wheels. I use it when I am doing tip runs, etc., etc. So it's never going to be perfect.
It's also worth noting here, as you've hit each of the rust spots, it goes blue when it hits rust. So you can see along here, that's already blue, and you can see it's doing its job and converting all the rust. That gives us a clean base to paint over the top of, meaning that if you miss any spot of rust underneath, it will come back and it will bubble up again, and you'll have to do this whole process from the start again.
And the most important bit with any paintwork is your prep. So you want to make sure you've got a reasonably nice, clean surface to go at. And while we were walking around the car, we did spot a fairly sizable chunk out of paint. So that's not going to do as well as a normal paint touch-up will. It will probably be visible because we'll be brushing paint on rather than dabbing it on, and I'll show you the tools that I use for dabbing, those kind of things as we go through. But very importantly, it will be sealed.
Yeah, that's the primary goal here, is seal it so you don't get any rust underneath the paint and on the bodywork. But for an aesthetic point of view, from back here, okay, you can see that chip up there, and it won't be perfect when you get up close. But other than the owner of the car, nobody's going to get up on your roof. So nobody's going to see it. Yeah,
and the other important thing is, this is one of about 30 Honda Mobilio Spikes in the UK. The paint on these is notoriously thin. So everyone in the community knows the paint's thin. You can see where I've had to use a sticker up on the top where we had a big paint peel on the motorway. That was literally just airspeed from the motorway on the car. And that's part of the reason it's going in for a respray. That sticker's super glued in place, so it definitely needs a respray, but it was a quick bodge while I was out so that we didn't damage the roof. It will be sorted in the longer term, but we've just got these little bits of touch up to do. You can see here now, this Q-Rust, you can see where I sanded it out, it's starting to go purple. on all those surfaces. So once we're happy that that is all blue, we'll go over the car with panel prep before we start applying any paint, and that'll take off all the surface contaminants. I use G-Technique panel prep just because it comes in a nice small spray bottle that's easy to carry around when you're working on your own. So we've been around all of it. You can see across the front now, it's looking slightly whiter. That's because we've used the correct primer for the paint. It's a grey primer underneath this. And we're just in the middle of letting all the primer dry. We found a couple more spots up on the roof that we needed to sort, which is why that time lapse is a little bit long. So next up, we've got 800 grit, wet and dry on the head. And we'll go through it, we'll sand back all the primer, and then we'll start putting in the white. That'll look a lot better then. And once we've done the white, again, we'll take the highest spots off with a 1000 grit, and we'll get some clear on, and then we'll be playing with sort of 5,000, 2,000s, 5,000 grits for a bit. And then we'll get compound on to get all the flat spots out of the paint. And by the end of it, we should have a fairly decent set of repairs. They're never going to be perfect because of the size of some of these bits of rust that we've found today. But short of getting it into a paint booth, stripping it completely back and repainting it, this is going to be about as good as we get. As you've seen, the brushes that we were using before go on really thick, but we had some quite big areas to cover. So what you want is some touch-up paint dabbers. Okay, I get these from SD Colors. They come with 20. They've got 1.2 mil all the way up to 2.5 mil heads. I'm using a 2.5 mil head at the moment. And what I'm doing is with the primer, we've got some bits where we sanded back. We've just got some bits where we've gone through the primer. We just need to touch up very small areas. So we'll take the dabber, get some paint on it, and then in on this one, we'll just get some fresh little drops of primer in. Now, as you can see, this is going on much thinner than the paintbrush did. And that means, there you can see the converted rust that's now black from the Q rust and some fresh metal. As we go in with this primer on the dabber, we're putting a thinner layer down so that we're not building the paint up quite as much. That means when we go back in and we sand it by hand, we don't have as much work to do to get the high spots down. So once we've done this, we'll get the high spots down with the, and you can see here I can use the whole side of the dabber for these broader bits, still putting down a much thinner layer of paint. You can use the tip of the dabber just to get into these little dots, and we'll be using these pretty much entirely for the rest of the process. We won't use brushes unless we've got a really big area to infill. So we'll just finish off this primer as we go through on these spots. We'll give it about 5-10 minutes to dry, which is about how long it takes when you've used a dabber. If you can tell, I like using the word dabber. But we get the paint in with much better control. And this is the trick between stone chip repair like here that the previous owner has done, where you can see the over edge, etc. We're not going to bother about that today, as we'll sort it all properly when we do the respray. But as we go in, we can just hit very precisely those spots where we've gone through the thicker primer, and that's partly because we used the brush. So the primer is thicker, it's not as dry. We blasted it with a heat gun just to give ourselves a little bit of an advantage in the cold weather. This is kind of the wrong time of year to be doing this job, but we need to get this sealed for winter. So that is why we use dabbers. And I'm done talking to you lot now. gone around the car with the white, with the dabber a couple of times. You can see now where it's starting to blend in. It's not perfect just because of the extent of the damage to the front of the car. This bonnet really needs a full respray. But the good news now is all the rust has been treated. It's sealed. We need to run around, just throw some clear coat on top, and then the next bits of footage you'll see will be me running around with a little dabber, putting that clear coat on, and then we'll sand that top layer back a little bit by hand. That doesn't take very long. We'll use about 2000 grit for that. And then we will get the DA out. We'll use Halford's aggressive compound on an aggressive pad. Then we'll use Maguire's compound on a medium pad, and then we'll polish the paint. We'll then chuck some wax on it just to seal it, some spray on wax. And then this should be good for the rust not coming back through winter, which gives me time to work on some of the other cars, but keeps this safe while it lives outside.
Other cars in question.
Matt turned up at 11. It's now and time
10 past 3.
10 past 3. So
4 hours.
Yeah, so we've done 4 hours, 10 minutes on this. We're going to show you one where I took 8 hours to do it in a bit. So this is very much doing it the quick way to get it sealed for winter. We thought it was going to rain about halfway through, so we did skip one step because it's been cold today. Things haven't cured as much as we'd like them to, so we've had to go soft. We can go back in with a really fine grade sandpaper in the future, just on a couple of bits on the roof. We've had to do big patches. But as you can see, at a distance, it's pretty solid. There are some bits that I'm not perfectly happy with around the front bumper, but that's because we've done a lot of work there and we have gone through the paint a little bit. So there are some bigger patches where it is noticeably a different shade of white, as it will be, because that is a 20-year-old car and we've just put fresh paint on it. The important thing is...
I was going to say, the other thing to point out is normally when you paint, this is a pearl paint, when you paint this properly in a paint booth, the pearl is in the clear coat, which we couldn't get any of. So
the important piece is it's sealed. I've just spotted a bit of wax still on the bonnet, and I know that's not how you should buff wax off, but I've got a protective layer of wax and sand on my hand right now. So
let's go in for a closer look, because you can see even at this distance, until at this angle, it's not that noticeable. I'm sure it may not come through on camera properly, but you've got to get in properly close before you can see the missing pearl. Yeah. And even then, I think it's all just because there's missing pearl that's the problem. But the main thing is it's sealed, it's not going to rust. You're not going to have to try and get another one of these bonnets from Japan, because you're not going to find them in the UK, let's be real. So
and also, during the process, we did polish my headlights, if you've noticed that's changed. So during the process that we've done this, the back end of that process of compound, aggressive compound, softer compound, polish, wax, you can use that to correct paint as well. So you will notice the bonnet is shinier than the rest of the car now. That's because there was a lot of stone chips on the bonnet. It has had a full hit with the DA of each bit of the components. So that's kind of the paint correction side of things is part of this process that we've not done. Now, if we turn our way around here, this car is the new Bipu build that I'm building. For those who don't know, that's Japanese VIP. I've got my curtains, I've got my cushions, I've got a fancy tissue box. But 2 days after I bought it, someone dinged the car door right here. Now,
I can't even see where you were pointing.
Yeah, so The point is here, and if we come down to the bonnet as well, we've got some...
I genuinely still don't know where you were pointing.
Yeah, it's about there.
There.
Yeah.
You can just about make it out because he's cleaned the dart with his finger. But you can't, in the camera, you can't actually see the chip.
Yeah. And then if we come up here, there is a few bits of stone chipping just there. Well, I haven't built the paint up quite high enough.
Yeah, you can see that because of the reflection. You can see the dip in the paint.
Yeah, so 8 hours worth of work went into sorting this one, 4 hours worth of work into that one. That one is to seal it. We're going to repaint that car. That car's brand new to the fleet and slowly being worked on, and we'll do a reveal video on one of the 2 channels when I'm finished. And it's got its nice new wheels on it and everything like that after winter when I'm done with my build season. But the amount of effort and the amount of prep you put in determines the outcome of the work. At one point we were attacking that car with 240 grit sandpaper. A very aggressive sandpaper to hit your paint with. You've got to be cautious and careful when you're doing it. But the results do speak for themselves. There is no bubbling rust left on the vehicle. We have done some fairly sizable patch jobs with touch-up paint, which isn't ideal, you know. If we had a paint booth, if
we had a paint booth, we'd just paint it.
Yeah, if we had a paint booth, we would have stripped back the big sections and we'd have been in with a paint gun. We don't have the capability to do that, so this is stuff you can do at home when you drive, just to get a bit longer over until you maybe respray your car. And that means you can save for a better painter and go to a painter. Speaking of which, Deep Car Auto Bodies, Painter Dave, shout out to Dave. But that's it. Yeah. So, forgetting the traditional goodbye formats videos, bye-bye!
Bye everyone, thanks for watching.
Buddy ears!